Alright, today we are talking about the bar shape. So, the bar is basically the corner and edge matched together and they are touching. So this is a bar, this is a bar. So bar is a fairly simple OBL shape because it can only go with two other shapes, and that's either another bar, so that's bar bar, or an arrow, which is right here, which is also a corner and an edge, except on the arrow it's separated instead of connected. So we're going to start with the bar bar cases. There are just two of them. One is good, one is bad. The good one you already know. It's just basically doing CO and getting an EO skip. You just preserve the blocks, bring this down, solve it. Or for the mirror, pair this up, UD2, solve it. But if I start trying to do that 2-slice OBL and I realize that it won't work because I can't mash it up nicely and I know I won't get an EO skip, then I know I have the bad bar bar. Now what I do for bad bar bar, I look at the layer with the most black pieces on it because that happens to be my U color. So I look at the black side, and for the mirror, if this was my bottom, then I would look here. Anyways, I look at all these black pieces for an edge corner edge block, and as you can see, it is right here. This is the block right here. Now what we do with this block is we put it right here on the right side of the cube so that we can bring it down diagonal of this black bar right here. And once we do that, we're going to do two alternating small moves that will preserve this block, this bar. So once again, if it's bad, we look at the black, all the black pieces up here and look for an edge corner edge block. As you can see, there's not one up here, but it's right here. Now we bring this block here, and we want to preserve this bar, so we're going to do a D prime, and then since it's alternating, we go the other way and do a D, and then we just finish intuitively, and this will come with practice to know which one you need to do. So if we had a bunch of white pieces on top, and I realized I had the bad case, so that's not right, then I would look at all the black pieces, and I would see I have an edge corner edge block right here. Bring it to the right hemisphere of the cube, and then bring it up so that it'll be diagonal, and then do two alternating small moves so that it preserves this bar. So don't go this way because that'll break it. So go this way, and then go the other way, go back to where you started, and then just finish it off with a UD2. Now let's look at one more bad bar bar case because there are, I think, 4 total or something like that. And this is a slightly different case where we have a different bar. Instead of the edge being here, it's over here, but it's still bad because we can't make an EO skip. So in this case, we're going to do the exact same thing, of course. We're going to look for the edge corner edge block, which is now up here, and it's already on the right hemisphere, so we don't need to do anything. But if we were to bring it down here, they wouldn't be diagonal, because remember, this corner needs to be diagonal of the bar, as I said earlier. So now we move the bar corner back here, so that when we bring this block down, they'll be diagonal. And of course, we don't want to bring anything else except just the edge corner edge block, so you can't do this because that also brings this corner. You just want to bring this edge corner and edge. So anyway, once we've done that, bring it down, follow the exact same rule. We want to do two alternating small moves. So that means we can't do this because that'll break this bar. So instead we need to do a D, and then since it's alternating, do a D prime, and then just finish off intuitively. I happen to know that I need to do a D prime to finish. So now we're moving on to bar arrow, which, as I said earlier, is the only other shape besides another bar that you can have with a bar. So this is also a corner and an edge, but they are separated. It's pretty easy to recognize just a small shape that is not a big block. So there's a good arrow and a bad arrow, and the way I recognize this is I put both of the corners, this is a corner, in the front, usually the front right, and the way you want to hold it, or the way you want to try to hold it, is to break the bar. You want to separate this corner from its edge, and you also don't want to touch either of the arrow pieces with the slice. So you don't want them to be near the slice. So as you can see, if I aligned the cube like this, then this black corner would be touching the slice. I don't want that. I want this buffer, this white piece, to be in the way. And I don't want it like this either, because then we have this edge right next to here. So we always want to try to hold our arrow like this, so that it'll split the white pieces up like this. Now, if you can hold your cube like this, which is splitting the bar while not touching either of the arrow pieces simultaneously, while not breaking cube shape. So if you have to go into kite, then that's just bad. So they have to be different alignments. Then this is the good bar arrow, and it's actually called F2 because in car notation the algorithm is basically just F prime or something similar. So there's one basic rule that will allow you to solve all of the F2 cases, and basically this edge of the arrow is your key to solving F2. After you do this first slice, you need to know where the edge of the arrow is going to be in terms of bottom or top. So it stays down here, which means since it's on the bottom layer, we're going to do an a 4 on the bottom layer. And there's only one way we can do that, which is this. And then we finish off basically intuitively, but you'll get this eventually with enough practice. And that's it. So I'll show another example of good F2. So once again, we want to try to break the bar and not touch either of the arrow pieces, and in this case we can. Once again, this edge of the arrow is our key, so we're going to pay attention to where it's going to go after the first slice. Since it's on the right hemisphere, we know it's going to move with the slice to the top. And since our key is on the top, we're going to do an F on the top. So that's a 4. And then by the nature of F2, it's going to have another F move, and from experience I know it has to be this, like that, and that'll be it. Alright, now we've covered good bar arrow, aka F2, but now let's talk about bad bar arrow, where you can't do F2 because of the alignments. So I always, when I get a combination of a bar and an arrow, I bring the corners to the front, and I immediately try to break the bar and break the arrow like this. If that gives me same alignments, which would give me kite if I sliced, I know it's bad, because I want to always stay in cube shape during OBL. So once I realize that I don't have F2 and I have bad bar arrow, we're going to put the arrow on the right side of the cube. So if it were on top, it would be like here. Since the bottom, it's here. And then we're going to bring the bar corner to the same location as the arrow corner. And I don't mean same location as like you could stick a pillar through this and they'd be connected. I mean, you look at this from the top and it's in the top right here. You look at this from the bottom, it's in the top right. So they're technically diagonal, but they're in the same position, and that's going to be how I'm going to refer to positions a lot from now on. So once you have them in the same position, top right, and this corner's position is based off of this, and this corner's position is based off of you putting it on the right side of the cube. Once you've done that, you're going to align it so that this corner is not preserved or not touching the slice, like this. So you don't want that, you want this buffer piece in between. And same with this, it's not going to be nicely kept in. You're going to have an extra edge here taken with the slice. Now, you're going to do an F move on the layer that the bar originally was on. So since the bar is now on this side, we're going to do an F on the U layer after the first slice. So it's on the top, slice. Since it's on the top, we're going to do an F on the top. There's only one way we can do an F, which is like this. Now for the second move, since our first F went counterclockwise on the top layer, like the big move, the 4, which is what I pay attention to, it went counterclockwise on the U layer. The second move is always a 90-degree rotation in the same direction on the same layer. So after doing this 4, which went counterclockwise on the top layer, we're going to do a U prime, because that's also counterclockwise on the top layer. So if that was confusing, I'm going to show another example. As you can see, we break this and we break this bar, but they're same alignments, which is bad. So we put the arrow on the right, we bring the bar corner to the same relative location, then we don't keep them next to the slice. Now since the bar is on the bottom, we're going to do an F on the bottom. And then since we went counterclockwise on the D layer, we're going to do that again, but only 90 degrees, so that's a D prime. And then we're going to finish it off. So that is all the bar cases. I know it was quite confusing. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. But this is just the beginning. Take your time trying to understand it, and I hope it helped.